So you said LinkedIn is the most underrated tech tool.
Yes.
Is that just in regards to connecting with other professionals, or did you have anything else that you wanted to mention about that?
Yes, thank you for bringing this back. So I wrote out several things. I posted this on Facebook. I also posted it on LinkedIn, and
Tony Maritato here with Dave Kittle. So Dave, how's it going today?
Feeling great, Tony. Good morning.
Good morning. Before we get started, I know you're a huge baseball fan. So this morning, I think it was this morning, I was watching a segment and you and I have talked about the Savannah Bananas. This is amazing. So I need to dig into this more. The guy maybe who started the league, the guy who started this whole business, this news segment said that he had an offer. Somebody wanted to buy $1 million worth of tickets and he refused to sell the tickets. It would have been a premium on the pricing because he wants fans to get tickets. And he said that basically the way they do it, it's a $25 ticket, unlimited food, like all of this other stuff that comes along with it. Do you know anything about this? I'm completely ignorant to it.
I know a bit about him and the organization. I don't know about their ticket strategy. So which angle you want to go at?
Anything. Like just tell the audience, like, what is this whole setup?
Okay. Founded by Jesse Cole and his wife. Jesse was a minor league pitcher. So he was drafted at some point. He was in the minor leagues. I think the Cardinals, but I can't recall which organization. He blew out his shoulder. And that was pretty much the end of his baseball career. And somehow, so he and his wife had bought a minor league team that was almost defunct or was defunct, something like that. So they bought a team and it came with like the stadium. I don't know if it was the real estate, but they bought some minor league team and the attendance was abysmal, like most minor league stadiums. And the tickets were really cheap. There was basically no significant supporting structures, and somehow I don't remember the whole origin story, but somehow they try to do things differently. They try to do more of the fan engagement. If you go to a minor league stadium, there's some mini show in between every inning, and sometimes there's even something going on during an inning while guys are pitching and batting, which is a little wild, a little different. And so from that, he saw and he started to curate the whole fan experience to be the number one thing. In the minor leagues, the number one thing is the minor league baseball game, because the big team, the big show, the major league team just cares about their minor league guys getting reps, and the ones that are going to, grow and go up to the major leagues, they want them to refine their skills. And then, a majority of the minor league guys end up just making, I don't know, 40, 50 grand a year and like traveling and playing baseball, but they're whatever. So Savannah Bananas, it evolved into the fan experience and doing more for the fan over time. And then somehow it turned into this banana ball. I think they call it banana ball. I'll fast forward to more recently, like they've been on Netflix. I think on this podcast or somewhere else, I said that he will, in maybe 20 years, he'll be a billionaire from this. Jesse Cole. He is like the Vince McMahon of baseball. So Vince McMahon, who started or consolidated a lot of the regional wrestling back in, I don't know, like the 80s and 90s, and Vince McMahon's father did that or whatever. So he kind of is like, has like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, or the Vince McMahon, WWF, WWE wrestling of baseball. And I could go on and on. I mean, I have a whole bunch of data points around the things that he's talked about. I follow him on Instagram. I've seen what they do for hiring, for attracting baseball players. A lot of the baseball players, by the way, are ex-D1 baseball players or ex-minor league baseball players. So they are legitimate. They can hit 400-foot home runs. They can do, they're catching fly balls while doing a backflip. Like things that they can do are ridiculous, but it's different rules. There's like, instead of 9 innings and whoever has the most runs after 9 innings, it's like you win each inning. Each inning is like a mini game.
Yeah. You get extra points or something.
There's a whole bunch of other crazy rules if a fan, this is the one that catches my attention and everyone else's the most. If I'm batting for the Savannah Bananas and Tony Maritato is in the stands or anyone else is in the stands, I hit a foul ball into the stands. If the fan catches the foul ball, I am out. I mean, that is just ridiculous, crazy. So if you're a baseball purist, you might not like it. If you are, you have 2 or 3 kids or whatever, and you're looking for something that's different and out of the box and engaging and all that, that's what this is for.
It's so amazing. And we've seen examples of this. So like you've got the Harlem Globetrotters, which have been around forever. And then you see on the flip side, football, they've tried multiple alternative football leagues, but they've never really taken off. Nothing has really gained any traction. I'm fond of saying, and it's the Albert Einstein quote, and maybe it was never said by him, but insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And when I look at therapists, PTs, OTs that are going into practice and they're doing what everybody else has already done and everybody else is failing at it, and they're going to try and do it the same way, it just makes no sense. So for something like this, pun intended, coming out of left field and doing something completely different, it's inspiring, it's exciting. And like, this is where I think we need to go to look for these kinds of ideas. How do we take something that just seems completely off the wall and be like, yeah, this is what we should be doing. I love them. I love what they're doing. We have a local, like in Dayton, we have the Dayton Dragons, which is a minor league team for the Cincinnati Reds. I prefer going to the Dayton Dragons games because, like you said, there's entertainment between every inning. There's all this other stuff. The stadium is smaller. You're closer to the field. And these are pro players, like we see them right before they move up to the major leagues. So they're just as good in terms of quality. But there are so many lessons we can pull from so many other businesses. I want to pull a lesson from you. Let's talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has been the pits for me over the last month or two. I had gotten really excited. I had gotten on LinkedIn sometime last year, maybe August last year, and it was doing great. And then lately it's just, it's so hard for me to build any real engagement on there. What are you doing on LinkedIn?
I don't think I'm doing things that much different from you. I don't really care about engagement per se. Like maybe you're looking for more comments, more shares, more conversations. I'm kind of like on and off of LinkedIn. I'm not always like engaging and having, comment threads and things like that. But I did post something about yesterday. I posted all over that LinkedIn is the most underrated tech tool, and we can go into some of my thoughts around it. But I don't think I'm doing that much different than you. We've compared numbers, and you like 2x every post that you post, you get like 2x the amount of views than mine. So maybe I'm posting too much, or I'm doing more of these self-serving posts because I'm trying to I'm resharing previous episode links or previous thumbnails or whatever of my show. And you're usually posting a new thought or comment or idea or strategy or something. And you're doing a little bit more long form posts, which is great. Like multiple paragraphs spaced out. Yeah. And I think that's probably why you beat me on views per post. But let me ask you, so are you looking for more views, more comments, more likes, more shares? Like you're posting on LinkedIn, like what is your goal there?
So when I jumped on LinkedIn, the whole idea was, okay, this is a pretty bland, lame experience. Like I never used LinkedIn before. I got on, I was like, this stuff is horrible. It's just so boring. Nobody cares about any of this. Plus, you hear Gary Vee and you hear other influencers say it's kind of underpriced attention. So I thought, okay, well, let me get on here. Let me see what's going on. And you're right. I tend to share similar ideas from Facebook to LinkedIn. And they're ideas that I genuinely want to work through in my head. So one of the ones that I shared recently on Facebook that got a ton of engagement was, if you're in a third-party payer model. So like I take all insurance. Is the insurance company paying me to get the patient to the goal? Or is the insurance company paying me to show the patient what to do to get to the goal? And in my feeling, my estimation of the policy, when I read it and I look at it, the insurance is paying me to show them what to do. So if I have a patient who's having challenges getting from sit to stand independently, and I evaluate that patient and I determine that patient can be independent with sit to stand, my job, what the insurance company is paying me to do, is to show them what to do, pick the exercises that are most appropriate for the patient at that level, and then let them do it. Like, get out of the way. They're not paying me to continue to treat and motivate and encourage and do all of the things that you do, because your boss is the patient. My boss is the insurance company. Now, when the switch flips and the patient wants to be my boss, when the patient wants to pay me for the experience, the patient can choose. And if they want to choose to pay me for the motivation and the jokes and the fun and the excitement, they can pay me for that. But the insurance company is not paying me for that. So my responsibility when I sign that contract is to honor the policy and honor the contract. And multiple times throughout all insurance policies, it says basically the same thing. Like, it has to be reasonable and necessary, not just necessary. And so the reasonable element is, okay, patient has, Parkinson's, a little cognitive decline, difficulty remembering things. I show them what to do once. Maybe I review it a second time. If I'm going on a third visit and doing the same thing, that is beyond the scope of what the policy should cover. That is not what I should continue to bill to insurance. So anyway, that got a bunch of engagement because, of course, there are a lot of therapists. They want to help people. They know that they can deliver value. I believe they're confused about what they're getting paid to do, because they've been kind of in this model of, you are the patient advocate, you have to support your patient, which is all true to an extent. And so Facebook blew up, lots of back and forth, lots of different perspective. LinkedIn, crickets. And to be fair, I was getting like 10 to 15,000 impressions a week on my posts. I'm looking at it right now. Over the last 7 days, I've got 3,000 impressions. Like, it just went way down. I'm posting a little less, but I don't know. I don't feel like LinkedIn is gonna return. And I've tried video, I've tried post, I've tried images, I've tried different things. I do want to build that part of the social media network, but I'm not resonating with the platform just yet. But I also don't use the platform. Like, I don't seek out stuff on LinkedIn, but I do have a story about LinkedIn, but I want to hear what you have to say next.
Okay, so two thoughts. One, you and I have been on Facebook more often, and it's just different. Yeah. Facebook is closer to your therapy practice or Cheers, right? Like, we go on Facebook and it's a little more familial, a little more like colleagues, friends. Like, we know a bunch of folks in our therapy world by name, and we also kind of see some of their like you've posted a picture, like you go to the Reds game. You've posted some things about your kids with like fishing and different things like that. People post obviously very like intimate stuff, right? So like on Facebook, I just think it's a little more intimate. I think that is what gets people to then comment more often on your post and many other posts, because it's like, yeah, it's like we're at a physical therapy conference almost, and we're between sessions, and we're having we're having lunch together. We're having a beer or a coffee or whatever. I think that's part of what gets more comments on Facebook. I don't necessarily think that like LinkedIn is throttling down your reach or anything like that.
Oh no, yeah.
So that's one comment or thought or opinion. Another thought or opinion about LinkedIn is, I'll get people that reach out, right? Like, by the way, I've gotten the most reach out about the hospital outpatient, the Article 28 thing, that whole episode that we did. So I've gotten like a ton of reach out and out inbound from that. Previous like physical therapy colleagues, a previous patient of mine who became a physical therapist, practice owners that I've never even connected with, never even spoke to before. They're sending me messages and emails and things like that. So that episode resonated with folks. And a lot of them said that, so they messaged me cold, or it's been 5 or 10 years since I spoke with anyone. And they say, hey, I've been following your stuff, or I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while, or I like your LinkedIn stuff or whatever. And then they're like, I saw this episode with you and Tony Maritato, and it was interesting, and that compelled me to reach out. So my point is on LinkedIn, it's like, yes, you might get less comments, less engagement, but it's like people are still seeing our stuff, and like they're going to reach out to you later, and then they're going to say, oh, like you've posted like all the stuff about artificial intelligence and health and insurance contracts and plans and policies and what's covered and what's not, and Medicare stuff and all this. So they're going to reference all this other stuff. And then they're going to say, but I'm reaching out because of this new thing or question or whatever. So it's like, we're not getting real-time public comments on LinkedIn, but people are still seeing it. That's what I believe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I noticed that they changed the platform on mobile. So when I go into my phone, I was going to make a post on my phone, and where the plus button is to make a post now is a video button. And so I do think I'm going to kind of reignite my interest in getting more video content on LinkedIn, just because if they're going to move buttons like that, that's a pretty significant shift for a platform. That to me would be indicative of saying, hey, we want more video. So I'm going to try and give that a shot. The other thing that I heard recently about LinkedIn was all the platforms are really doubling down on gaming. And so I heard My First Million, I think it was, they said that the New York Times, do you know what the major profit center for the New York Times is today compared to, 30 years ago?
Don't tell me it's like Sudoku or gaming or games.
Yeah. So the majority of their profits, a huge chunk of their revenue,
that's why they bought Wordle. You remember the game Wordle?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the paid membership for their gaming platform. It's Wordle. It's the crossword puzzle. And so again, like leveraging this back into therapy, leveraging this back into rehab. So Scott Dixon is teaching dry needling. I got connected with him. I watched him on an interview, and then I did an interview with him. He's got a different approach. I love what he's doing. He has taken what was a full physical therapy practice and really kind of narrowed it down to, I'm just going to do dry needling. And I see a lot of clients, this is him, just for dry needling. When you look at the New York Times and all their media and all their stuff, they're like, look, this one little sliver is generating the majority of the profit, the majority of the revenue. Let's double down. Let's focus on this. And when I go back to PTOT, I'm like, there's probably something within your practice, your business model, that's generating the bulk, the 80% of the profitability with 20% of the work. Why not just double down on that one thing? I'm going to ask you what that is for you and your kind of business model. But I know for me, one of the things that made a massive change in our business, we own a building next door to us. We used to rent space to 2 orthopedic surgeons that treated spine. And so we would get all of their non-surgical, post-surgical spine referrals. And these were, not appropriate therapy patients for my practice, but they would all come over because they were literally in the same building. Once those 2 docs moved out because they got acquired by the hospital, and we reduced the volume of usually non-surgical low back pain referrals, our cancellations and no-shows dropped through the floor. Like they disappeared. We had nobody canceling, nobody no-showing. 1 or 2 specific payers that were associated with that patient demographic just went to zero. We're not getting these referrals anymore. And it completely changed the trajectory of the business. It completely changed the business systems. We didn't have to worry about, like lost productivity. We didn't have to worry about cancellation fees. We didn't have to worry about rescheduling. Administrative costs went down, everything. Like this was the most amazing thing that ever happened to the business on a macro scheme. So that was like one little thing that had a major impact and a major shift for us. We got away from low back pain. And it's been a beautiful transition since then. For you, what is like a major shift in your business or a major trend that you see, or what's a major thing that generates the most profit with the least amount of work that maybe you could consider doubling down on?
The biggest thing is Google. And so it's a hybrid between Google Ads and just the free exposure on Google Maps. I, dude, I don't think I would have a practice without Google Ads. And this is going to sound crazy. Like I know, listen, I did an episode a little while ago by myself, solo episode about, I called it the steroid method, about referring patients back to a physician or referring patients to a physician first before getting referrals. I'm serious, Tony. I barely get any physician referrals. Like there's one that's like, I'm very, a podiatrist we break bread with, we meet up, whatever, like, but for the most part, I mean, I get a bulk of our new patients and clients from Google. So at any given time, I'll turn up Google Ads to several $1,000s a month. At the most, I think I've spent $7,000 to $8,000 a month. I've documented that publicly, and then sometimes I turn it down. But I also get new patients just from the Google business listing, being on Google Maps and having an account. Yeah, there it is, the steroid method. So that works. But I mean, I get some referrals from physicians or hospital systems, but it's like, and nursing agencies, but it's like, I don't really proactively go out and market because that takes, I mean, you should do it, but I just don't. Like my biggest thing is I do Google Ads because I can turn it up and down. And I just know that it works. And then all of the other things work as well, but that takes longer, right? It takes longer to build relationships and meet up with physicians and, bring lunch and all the things that Tony has done and everyone has done before and still does. And all that stuff still works. But for me, Google, it's not even close. Now, of course, we get word of mouth. We get referrals from word of mouth and previous patients reaching out to us for their spouse now. And that's happening all the time, but it's not really predictable, right? But if someone put a gun to my head and said, hey, you need to generate 50 leads, 50 prospective patients in the next 30 days or whatever, what would you do? I would just go into Google and I'd be like, I have access to my bank account, right? Okay. So I would just turn it right up. I would just turn up all my ads that are already in place. And then anytime I turn them down, I just turn all the daily budgets down to $1 a day. So I'd never pause the campaigns. Google loves that. But I also get the free juice. I get the free juju from Google. Even if I have my ads turned down to $1 a day, I still get people finding us on Google, remarking about our Google reviews. Oh, I saw this review. Sometimes people are like, I recognize this name on this Google review. Is this guy I used to work with? I'm like, I don't know. Like, so Google by far, it's not even close, is the biggest driver. And it's wild to think about because Ron Miller, when I was partnered with him with the coaching stuff, he had a Google Ads guy that like set his up and then he set mine up. And at the time I was only paying this is like, I got lucky. This was a steal. He was charging like $200 a month. And this was 2017, 2018, something like that. And he was doing $200 a month. Now people will charge you $1,000 to $1,200 a month to do exactly what he was doing, which is like managing the account, logging in, changing keywords, updating things, optimizing all the things, that Google gives you little tips and suggestions. I would still be, if I had to, I would pay someone $1,000 a month to just manage the account if I needed it. I don't really need it right now, but I certainly would. And it's not even close in terms of the time and effort to move the needle in my business, in my practice.
I'm telling you, you need to make the video. Google for physical therapy, Google for mobile therapists, Google for X. That's the video that you need to make. Before I move on, so you said LinkedIn is the most underrated tech tool.
Yes.
Is that just in regards to connecting with other professionals, or did you have anything else that you wanted to mention about that?
Yes, thank you for bringing this back. So I wrote out several things. I posted this on Facebook. I also posted it on LinkedIn, and I was going to tweet it. I don't think I did. I forget. I tried it like Tony. I try to do best practices like Tony, and I try to get my thing, my idea, and I want to share it across as many platforms as I can. So I did that. I got some feedback as well. So I posted last night, 12 hours ago. LinkedIn is the most underrated tech tool for finding new jobs, companies, or bosses to work for if you're an employee, seeing new ideas to potentially implement, which would be anyone, getting more new opportunities, that's for anyone, connecting with the smartest people in your industry, anyone, or learning about a new industry, which would be anyone. Like if you're if you're going to, I don't know, if you're going to leave physical therapy, if you're going to go anywhere else, like you could learn on Google and you're going to learn on YouTube. And then I certainly suggest you learn on LinkedIn, because you can see what people are posting about, what people are complaining about, what people love about whatever their industry. Obviously getting B2B customers, like business to business. So like, you know, the EMRs of the world, like, of course they're on LinkedIn because they want to be in front of practice owners and they want to sell their software to practice owners. And then also recruiting and sourcing new candidates, which is any business owner watching or listening. So yes, LinkedIn ads work. Yes, Indeed ads work. Manually prospecting, we talked about on the show before, going on LinkedIn, you could do it. Your admin, you could have a virtual assistant do it. And you could be manually messaging a short message. I gave examples on the show before, potential therapists and candidates, PTs, PTAs, to message them, to do manual prospecting, even like for you to always be doing. And by the way, can you just put that back up? Because I missed what Jeremy said. Jeremy Sutton, he posted this after my post, right? Is that it? And so Jeremy Sutton down in Louisiana, he posted, what do you think are the best methods for connecting to business owners on LinkedIn? Okay. This is fairly easy and straightforward. It can't be salesy. Tony's done a lot of examples of this with PT Spotlight over the years. I would, and I mentioned this, I think Jeremy already knows this, and he's probably watching live. Jeremy, we should have had him call in because I love his Louisiana accent. We should have had him call in, and maybe we can have him call in another time. So Jeremy, we've talked about this, man. We already talked about this. You reach out to business owners. You should just start a random show or podcast, or you don't even have to name it. Just like, hey, we're going to be on Zoom. I'm going to record it. And you, the practice owner, so Jeremy Sutton has a mobile practice in Louisiana, start interviewing business owners around Louisiana, people that own bars, restaurants, hair salons, barber shops, HVAC company owners, plumbers, lawyers, accountants, people who own those firms, politicians, whoever, like influencers, whoever it might be, and just interview those folks just like this, and take Tony's tips. Like, I think you've done like 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute max interviews with these folks. Yeah. So it's not even a big ask on their time. And then you're going to say, hey, I'm going to just post this online, and like, maybe you get some free exposure. And I suggest, Tony, and Jeremy, when you reach out to these people, if you don't already know them, my thing that gets the best response is at the end, I write no cost, comma, no catch. So like when I reach out to people that I've never even talked to about coming on my show, and I don't even know if they're going to, like, usually they're going to be a good fit because I see how they post on LinkedIn or whatever, but I've never heard them speak. And I'll say, hey, interested in a potential interview, ? No cost, comma, no catch. So that they know there's no ulterior motive. I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, like let's schedule this interview and it's going to be $100. Like, no, it's free and we're going to get you some free exposure. Jeremy, that's how you do it. That's just a little mini masterclass right there.
And I think Jeremy has started doing, I know he's got a podcast going. I know he started doing interviews. He's doing outreach. I agree. One of the things that's interesting about LinkedIn is the way that you can repost or reshare posts. So a lot of times I'll start to comment on somebody's post and be like, oh, I should reshare this with my comment as a new post. The original post gets notified. That obviously initiates the goodwill. You share your unique perspective on what they're saying, and then that is a great conversation starter. I try to think about all the bad inbound that I get, especially on LinkedIn. And from that, I try to, reverse engineer. So these days, as soon as if I don't see that somebody is a clinician, I almost always refuse their request to connect. As soon as I see that somebody is like a digital marketer, YouTube, whatever, and I don't accept their request to connect. Yeah, I've become a lot more stingy with my willingness to connect. And so obviously something like that, I'm going to reverse engineer that. The other one that you and I talked about, going back to, I think it was Mayo Clinic or one of the big organizations, again, they have an executive package. They're doing a $10,000 offer where you have all of this testing and biometrics and weight and fitness and all of these things. I still say there's got to be that therapist who creates something like that for executives, for whatever target demographic. And you have a series of, hey, let's see where you are. Let's see what's going on. The only thing is, I think it needs to be approached a little bit differently. So I wouldn't go in with a hard sell. I wouldn't be like, hey, my name's Jeremy Sutton and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I need to do this. You would just start sharing stories. This is a person. This is what was going on. They had worked their entire life. They had been, this great executive. And once they were ready to travel with their family because of debilitating osteoarthritis in the knee, they were unable to do that. So this is what, the solution was, or this is how we identified it or whatever. And story-based marketing, making that connection, the hero's journey, like anybody watching, if you don't know the hero's journey, you have to understand how that works. I use that in a lot of my presentations and a lot of webinars, and I take the viewer through the hero's journey. I put them in the seat of the hero. We go through the very exact process of the story framework, and it helps them visualize what they want, where they're going, and what they need. Check it out. Will Boyd's here. Dr. Bo is here. So thank you guys for showing up. Dustin Howard, he does, an executive package. He does a great job. I haven't heard from Dustin as much on Facebook, but I used to follow all of his stuff about high ticket sales.
He does some awesome stuff. This is random, but I stopped watching his videos because he was chewing gum on every video. No offense.
Somebody's going to stop watching because I'm drinking coffee now.
No, I mean, I love chewing gum, but like, I feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's distracting. And if I chewed gum during this, I feel like it would be disrespectful to Tony or like the audience or whatever. Like I chew a lot of gum, but I had to stop watching his video. I love his content and he's like fit and he's like, his content is great. Anyway, it's just some feedback live. Sorry if that offends, but
no, it's funny. I hate chewing gum. Everybody offers me gum. I never accept gum. I hate chewing gum. Dave, what's the deal with Honda's tagline and brand slogan, "The Power of Dreams"? This might play into the hero's journey.
So I was watching the NHL playoffs last week. It was it Rangers? Yeah, it was Rangers versus the Panthers, and Honda was one of the sponsors. And Honda, the Power of Dreams, the brand slogan was on the boards, the white part of the ice rink, board. I don't really have like a big connection here to like physical therapy or anything. I just wanted to bring this up because we've talked about Harley Davidson, and my mind was blown when you said you have a Harley Davidson motorcycle in your clinic. By the way, you still didn't share a picture of it. What the hell?
I know. You just reminded me. I'm going to take a picture. Yeah.
Sidebar. Okay. Watching the hockey game. My wife's a Rangers fan, and we had family from South Florida here last week. They're Florida Panthers fans, so we were having a great time. And the Honda slogan, "The Power of Dreams," the power of dreams. It has nothing to do with a motorcycle. I'm such a business nerd. Like they're watching the game and they're like talking smack back and forth. And I'm looking at Honda's "The Power of Dreams" brand slogan. Yes, Will Boyd missed the first time you mentioned it, but yes, Tony has a Harley Davidson motorcycle parked in an exam room in his office. The room has no door on it for whatever reason, and patients ask about it. I'm very confused as well. And Tony was supposed to share a picture, so he has not yet, and I need to see it. Anyway, so we're watching the game, and I see the Honda, "The Power of Dreams" brand slogan. And we talked about Harley Davidson before. We talked about like community and branding and all that. And I thought it was so cool that their slogan is it creates like this like big thing, right? At the end of the day, they're literally selling some metal and 2 tires, a place to put some gasoline and a clutch. And this vehicle with 2 wheels, can travel 60, 70, whatever, 80 miles an hour. But the brand slogan is about the experience. And I just think it's a little bit of a nerdy business thing of mine, but it's genius. It's genius. It's not saying like, finest craftsmanship, finest motorcycle craftsmanship, which is what we often do in physical therapy and the healthcare world. We talk about like the manual therapy and like the dry needling or whatever. It's like, let's learn from these multi-billion-dollar companies, these companies that have been around for, I don't know, Honda's probably been around for at least 50 years, maybe closer to 100 years. And their brand slogan is talking about power of dreams, the experience. I mean, how cool is that? It's just, I think half the audience is going to say this is nerdy. Who cares? Move on. But like, I think it's genius, and it's not talking about the actual item, the actual physical item.
Yeah, and for context, Honda was incorporated 1948, so okay. 80-ish years ago. One of the things that I remember early in my business ownership career was I was like, well, geez, a company like Honda has billions of dollars. They need to do marketing right. I'm just going to copy the marketing they do. What I didn't put into context was I'm not a billion-dollar company. I'm this little tiny person. I don't have the budget. I don't have the resources. I don't have any of that. So yes, 100%. I love the idea of selling the dream. For small providers, for small business operators, we also need to understand how do we convey that message? How do we share that message? What Honda does well versus what they do not so well. There's no real affinity. There's no real connection. I mean, we own a Honda. We own a Toyota. I buy them. Why? I buy them because I feel safe in those cars. I feel like the cars are going to run forever. I feel like the cars aren't going to break down. If they do break down, I feel like there's, reliable support behind them. I am buying the sense of security that the brand delivers to me. Now, as a small independent physical therapist, nobody knows anything about me. I guarantee if you walk into my clinic today, ask 20 people what my name is, my personal name, me as a human, they're not going to know my name is Tony. They're just going to be like, oh, Jeremy, Tony, Jason. They have no idea. They don't know the name of my company. They don't know anything. But what happens and what I try to curate in our business at our level is when they do roll the dice, they make that first call. There's the initial contact, a la Jerry Durham. That right there, we bring the feeling of, hey, this is a welcoming, warm environment. The person who answers the phone isn't in a hurry. They're willing to take time. I've got kind of an interesting story. 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, I was in the clinic. It was Monday. I was in the clinic. I was wrapping up. I was getting ready to leave. It was before lunch. Patient came in. I used to remember every single name, every single face, thousands of people. I am not that person anymore. My brain doesn't work that well anymore. And so I kind of knew that I knew this person, but I have no idea. And so he comes into the clinic. He's walking toward me. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? What can I do for you? I'm working with patients. There's my PTAs, everybody there. And he was like, I'm looking for Tony. And I was like, okay, you found him. What's going on? What can I do? And he was like, do you remember me? And I was like, I don't know. Did you have a hip problem? Or anyway, long story. He was in a motorcycle accident. He's 86 now. He came for therapy. Funny motorcycle. And I was like, yeah, of course, I remember you. And I did. It clicked. And he was like, listen, I broke a tooth. I was trying to get to a dentist. I don't know where the dentists are. I can't see. I have to turn my head and there's a small frame of, view that I can look through. He's like, I need some help. We're not dentists. We can't do that. But we are a small community physical therapy clinic that will do pretty much anything for anyone. So my admin person took him to the side, sat down with him, started calling dentists around the area, found a private practice dentist that was willing to accept him, got the paperwork faxed to our clinic for him because he can't get that. She sat there for an hour through her lunch break. I didn't tell her to do this. I was like, listen, you could tell him to leave. You don't have to. The guy walked to our clinic from his house 3 blocks away because he can't drive. So he walked to our clinic because he knew we were there. And like, this is the kind of experience that we can deliver. And it's not because I'm paying them more. I'm not giving her a bonus. It's not, there's no financial incentive here. She is a good human who sees a person in need and wants to do something to help that person. And so capturing that in the language, capturing that in the messaging, that is the biggest challenge. But if you can do that, when you can do that, I think you can show potential clients what it is that makes us unique, and the hospital therapists are amazing. I would never take anything away from them professionally, but they're not going to do that. They can't do that. They don't have the resources to do that. And so I think that's like a unique experience that we can deliver that nobody else can, but we have to let the people know that we do that.
Okay, so she helped him with the paperwork, and then what? He walked home, or did you guys Uber him to the dentist, or you drove?
No, he did walk home. She got him the paperwork, sat there, they filled it all out. She talked to his daughter. His daughter is going to get him to the dentist appointment when, the time comes. And that was it. That was the end of that experience. Now, again, he's gone. I have no idea. Hopefully he does well, but it's just, that, like, when we talk about hiring, when we talk about interviews, I don't care about clinical skill. I don't care about billing knowledge. I don't care about any of that stuff. I try to identify the person who's going to do the right thing in that situation, no matter what, because they're just good people and they're happy. I try to hire for goodness and happiness, because those are two things I can't change. I can't make you a good person. I can't make you a happy person. And frankly, that's why I don't hire a lot of people, because it's hard to find those things. It's hard to find people who are genuinely happy no matter what.
This is why it's great to hire anyone who previously worked in the service industry anywhere, like hospitality, waiter, waitress, whatever, because let's say your front desk person in, I don't know their age, but let's just say she was interviewing for a new job 10 years, 15 years from now. If that person's interviewing her and that interviewer says, hey, tell me about a time when you had a difficult customer. Oh, you worked at a therapy office? Tell me about a time you had a difficult patient. Another question. Tell me about a time when you did something at that physical therapy office that you were proud of. And she might recollect this story, and that shows and conveys her empathy and her generosity of time to that potential employer. So I agree. Like, these are the things that we need to ask currently to any potential candidate, anyone that we're interviewing. And you're right. Like, it's hard to hire in general, but you need to be asking some of these things, because these are the things you want to pull out. And the skills can be taught typically, but these are the empathetical components that are just vital for any of us that are hiring. So if you're not asking this question, you should. And any future employee, or any future employer should be asking those types of questions to identify that type of talent.
What's interesting is two parts to this. One, I bet if somebody asked her that question, she wouldn't even remember that story, because it's so natural. It's so second nature. It wouldn't stand out to her as something extra or above and beyond that she did. It would just be a normal part of her day. So that's one part on that side. The flip side is me as the employer. I have a responsibility, and I think about this every single day. I think about it with my PTAs. I think about it with my admin team. I think about it with everybody. It is very easy for me to take advantage of that person's nature. It's so easy because they're willing to do anything all the time. It's so easy for me to fall into this pattern of, oh, well, I know she can do it. I know he can do it. I know they're willing to do it. When I start an initial evaluation with a new patient, and maybe it's a challenging personality, to say it politically correct, I intentionally keep that person on my schedule, because I know I have the easiest schedule in the clinic. I do the least work out of everybody in the clinic. If somebody is going to deal with a challenge, it should be me. I'm not going to put that person on my PTA schedule. And so I try to be aware, but I'm sure things get through. I'm sure, you can't see your own blind spots, but I really work hard not to take advantage of somebody who's extra generous, extra giving, who wants to go that extra mile. I try to recognize, I try to, reward, and I'm not a good person at recognition. Like, I don't like telling people, oh, you're doing an amazing job. It makes me feel uncomfortable. So, but it's just something I have to do. I have to get past it. When I was working with my wife, it was awesome because she's amazing at praise. I'm horrible at praise. So I could be like, hey, go tell so-and-so they're doing a great job, and she can do it. But anyway, these are things that as business owners, if you go down the road of building a team, I think we all struggle with, we all want to be aware and pay attention to.
Awesome. What else you got next?
What were you talking about? Physicians and Instagram stories and potential referral sources.
All right. So still a pretty early Instagram account. So my practice, Concierge Pain Relief, at Concierge Pain Relief on Instagram. I think we have like 80 something followers. So it's new and it's not about followers, right? So I went and I followed like several hundred, mostly physicians in the New York City area, and also physical therapy colleagues and, the individual accounts and their practice accounts or whatever. I'm looking at my Instagram, my practice in Instagram as a potential place for future referrals, but I want to demonstrate with video. And we talked about video and images, to put that out there. So put some video out there of patient experiences and testimonials and selfies with patients or whatever, and progress and things like that, success stories. So in the docket, I put on the list New York City physicians looking at my Instagram stories, and these are all potential referral sources. So this, Tony. I know you don't really post stories, but when you post a story on Instagram or Facebook, you can see who has viewed it. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So every time I post a story on the at Concierge Pain Relief account, and again, only have 80 followers. So like the only people that are going to see my stories typically are people that are following us. And I'll post a story and like, there's usually 2, 3, or 4 of the people of, I don't know, like it's like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people see my story at any given time. But 2, 3, or 4 of them are physicians. And sometimes it's the same ones. And then sometimes it's like different physicians. So yeah, thank you for sharing that there. Connect with me there and I'll follow you back. So a couple things, for sure that even if they are just, hyper swiping and they saw it for a split second, maybe they didn't even say it. But in general, I'm getting a good amount of physician eyeballs on my Instagram, my practice's Instagram. So it's a way for long-term exposure, long-term marketing to just build relationships with these potential referral sources, these physicians. I'll comment on their stories. I'll comment on their posts, whatever, congratulations, this or that, or happy birthday, or whatever it is. Just like super, super like long-term. But it's interesting when you're thinking about a therapy practice and potential physicians that can refer to you, and you notice that some of them are viewing your story. It's like micro exposure. It's like it's multiple touch points of them analyzing you, or just briefly viewing you and not really thinking of it or whatever. So I just put that in the docket because, I mean, if you're not already doing that, I mean, Tony, I know you have an established practice and you don't need to do it because you already have a ton of physicians referring to you. Earlier in this episode, I said Google is like my number one marketing driver. And so that's all like direct to consumer, direct access marketing. But I wanted to follow a bunch of physicians on here. I want to meet some more of these physicians. I want to refer to them first. I want to see what they're about. And because of my flow of patients through Google, a lot of times, like, they don't even have a doctor. They don't have a physician. Like, we might be the only healthcare provider that they've seen in the past year or two. So I want to make sure that I have physicians that I can refer to. So whether it's a podiatrist, whether it's a specific ortho or non-operative, it's a physiatrist or whatever, or a primary care. And then also there's concierge physicians in the city as well. So if you are, let's say, in the first couple of years of your practice, I have my personal Instagram account that I've had for forever. But then now, earlier this year, I created one for my practice. I had the handle for years, but I just never posted to it. Now I'm doing that. And it's just a reminder that you want to get out in front of physicians. You want referral sources to like get to know you and like you and trust you. And I think I'm doing that in a long-term way. And that also, by the way, when I post stories, obviously you need to be considerate of like what you're posting. Like, for example, I'm always posting like if I'm out and about and I'm in traffic yesterday, funny things about New York City or whatever, or it's patient stuff. But I'm never going to post, obviously I'm never going to post like political stuff. I'm not going to post like whatever, like I'm not going to post like this type of stuff. Like I'm not going to post like the businessy type stuff. It's going to be like the patient side, the practice, like the practice facing side of things. So just a reminder because I know you have a big reach and a big audience of like therapists that are in their first couple of years of practice. So if they don't have a practice facing Instagram account already, they should. And then you're going to go on Instagram, the search bar, and then I was just searching hashtags. I was just going hashtag NYC ortho. I'll find one, and then I'll go into I'll find like an ortho, for example, an orthopod in New York City. I'll connect with them. Then I look at who they follow, and then it's usually like a whole bunch of other physicians in the area. And then I'll pick one of them, and then who do they follow? And just from that, it's like I was able to follow 300 something local physicians and some PT colleagues. It's really not that tough. And so it's just a matter of time, I think, until I'm going to get referrals from them without even asking for it.
Nice. Yeah. I was just saying the other day, there's so many amazing clinicians, but it doesn't matter how amazing they are if nobody knows about them, if nobody can find them, if they're hiding in the shadows and in the corners. And so making these connections, letting people see what you do, letting people hear your voice, letting people understand who you are. I know a lot of us are not comfortable in front of the camera. I know a lot of us aren't comfortable on social media, but it's just a necessity these days. Like you have to be able to do that. And so what you're doing is awesome. I'll share one more before we run out of time. I was just looking at my Pinterest account. Again, I'm not a Pinterest user. I'm not the target demographic for Pinterest. But when I look at it, I'm looking at the last 30 days. I had 33,000 impressions. I had 3,000 engagements, 1,000 clicks, really 1.1 thousand clicks from Pinterest to my website. And I don't have a ton of stuff, and I have a tiny, tiny audience compared to other therapists that are on Pinterest. There are therapists on Pinterest with millions and millions of monthly impressions. I've got 30,000 monthly impressions. But if you look at it and you say 1,000 clicks from Pinterest to my content, if I was paying Google ads, now my Google ads are different than your Google ads. I'm talking just for traffic. I get about 5 cents per click when on my Google ad campaign. That's $50. $50 for 1,000 clicks, 1,000 people that come over to my website to see my content, to read, my articles. I really still, I find that Pinterest is an underserved population for what we do. I'm going to continue to put effort into LinkedIn to see where that goes. And I should be fair. Like you said, LinkedIn has provided me with connections to people that I wouldn't have otherwise connected with. Urson is a great example. Dr. E, we connected through LinkedIn. We've never connected through Facebook or any other social platform. There have been other connections to other people in business that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't get on LinkedIn. So I think we're at top of the hour. What are some parting shots?
Yes, I agree with that. Parting shot is go on LinkedIn. I know we mentioned Instagram, we mentioned a couple different platforms, but I have like 2 or 3 calls today with physical therapy practice owners who I've never spoken with. who I'm not connected with on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else, just on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about some potential future collaboration or partnership or something. All that is from LinkedIn, and don't be discouraged. Like, you have to post. I mean, I'm thinking like other therapy practice owners out there, like, I don't know what they're going to get out of posting on LinkedIn, because it's kind of like B2B. It's kind of like business to business. But you could take the Jeremy Sutton approach. You could, interview practice owners, other business owners in your area. The parting shot is get on LinkedIn and do not be discouraged about the crickets. Do not get discouraged about no likes, no comments, no engagement, whatever. Like, I've been on LinkedIn at least 10 years or more, 15 years maybe. And people see your stuff. People will see your stuff, and you have to just stick with it. You have to stick with it for, a year or more, and then you're going to get some opportunity that you would have never gotten before. So that's my parting shot, is LinkedIn. It's underrated. So
my guilty pleasure, you guys all know my secret about the Harley Davidson. I'll get the photo. I just never go to that clinic. My other guilty pleasure is when I'm alone, I turn on Netflix and I watched all of The Last Kingdom. And now I'm starting to watch a different Viking, series. And it just reminds me, as we were talking this morning, the hero's journey. Research the hero's journey, understand the hero's journey. It applies to so many things in life. And when you're talking to people, when you're relating to people, even when I'm talking to a patient, in the back of my head somewhere, I've got that hero's journey framework, and I'm seeing where this person is in their life. What are the challenges they face? What are the fears that they face? How did they overcome them? How did they refuse the solution and then embrace it? And all of those elements, it really is so impactful, not just to marketing and sales, but just to patient outcomes. People are their own hero in their story. And if you understand the narrative, you can help them achieve better clinical outcomes simply by acknowledging all of those aspects of their own hero's journey. Dave, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.